Awesome. Well, we are live coming to you here from Ocean City, Maryland, with one of my favorite people in the industry, formerly Baltimore's finest media personality and voted best biceps in Maryland multiple times, Mark Zinno. Zinno, what's up, man? How you doing?
Marco, great to be with you. Thank you for the kind introduction. I don't know how much I'm still liked in Baltimore, but I miss the Charm City to say the least. And if they'd ever had me back, I would consider definitely coming back. So
There you go. Well, I wore peaches on my shirt for you in honor
there
of
you
your
go.
uh,
Thank you.
your, your new location there in the Peach State. So, yeah, man. Well, before we get in the NFL, though, college football officially back, baby. I had the triple box there. What was your best college play for the weekend?
Well, I was on the game that I'm on the heaviest tonight is NC State's team total over 37.5. So what do we got? A 17-0 lead right now. Kind of got stung by a 15-yard personal foul penalty from like third and goal from the 2. And it
Yeah.
led to a field goal, which I'm nervous about. If they can get to 24 by half, I'll feel okay as we head into the second half here. But so we got about what, 7.5 left in the second. So I'll keep my eyes on that game. I actually also have Georgia Tech tomorrow night. Their team total over 27.5. They should be able to score easily on this Colorado defense that does not have a lot of high level talent.
Right.
Georgia Tech is worth a sprinkle to win the ACC. I mean, you look at yes, they have to play Clemson, but they have such a favorable schedule. Their road games are easy. They don't really play anybody all that difficult. I mean, I could look at this schedule, and if they lose to Colorado, I could see 9-3 and a trip to the ACC championship game. They might get smoked by Clemson and it, but I mean, it's worth a shot if they get there. At that point in time, at least I can hedge. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I think Brent Key has done a really good job with this program and turning it around, and I feel pretty good about Georgia Tech. I laid the 22.5 with Houston tonight as well. That game kicks off here in just a few moments. Uh, this is a Houston team that should, in year 2 under Willie Fritz with Connor Wegman at quarterback, should be able to put up a lot of points tonight. And Stephen F. Austin's just going to get outclassed from a talent perspective. So, you expect this game to be somewhere like 35-10 in that range. 37-10 in that range. And it's a fat number, but in the beginning of college football seasons, I tend to lay bigger numbers because the disparity between the teams talent wise is so much bigger. So I'm not as afraid to do it.
Absolutely. Well, anyone who's listened to previous guests that I had on here for college, also, I'm backing you on the Georgia Tech. I said I wouldn't be shocked if they made it there. And once you're in the dance, you never know. So yeah, definitely agree with you on all those. And I know the prop queen was loving your Houston pick there when you were on her show earlier, laying the
Yeah.
22.5. So
Yeah. I mean, it's an under the radar game. I feel like no one's really paying attention to it, but Houston as a team in year 2 of Willie Fritz after sort of like a really, bad year last year, where they only won 4 games. It feels like it's a big time bounce back spot, a bounce back year for them. They finally will get some consistency at quarterback with Connor Wegman, and their defense is really good. This is a defense that allowed less than 23 points per game last year, and you know, um, they do have some tough road games. They got to go to Corvallis to play Oregon State, which is never easy. They have to go to Arizona State, and they finish up at Baylor. But 6 wins for them would be a good year in year 2. So I think when you look at their schedule, um, if Stephen F. Austin, Rice, if they can win at home against Colorado, that's 3. They could beat UCF possibly on the road, although the bounce house is tough. West Virginia shouldn't be too good, and Oklahoma State feels like those are your kind of 6 wins there. But unfortunately, they get Texas Tech at home. Arizona is a kind of a coin flip spot at home. But again, I think this Houston team will bounce back in year 2 under Willie Fritz. And, with their offense, that's the thing. Like, if you remember Willie Fritz at Tulane, they brought the OC over from Tulane as well. It was a very up tempo, fast paced offense that got out and ran and put up a lot of points. So I expect them to do that tonight.
well, all is right in the world. We had a Grammatica kicking for Florida State. We have a Manning playing college football tomorrow. So we'll just get right into their namesakes and talk a little NFL football 1 week from today. And, sometimes this is how things go. Had a show rundown, but we'll scratch the first topic and we'll head right into the Micah Parsons to Green Bay trade. And Zeno, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm not a guy who thinks that first round picks are much value for a player in his prime. To me, a first round pick is a lottery ticket, right? Like, are they really going to find a person that is better than a Micah Parsons in his prime. I think it's a fine deal for Green Bay if it gets you over the hump. But what are your thoughts on the deal as a whole?
Well, it's funny because on one of my ESPN radio shows, we had a conversation about possible trade destinations for Trey Hendrickson after they had hit a stalemate. And one of the three teams that I had at the top of my list was the Packers. They had 12th most cap space of anybody in the NFL. You were kind of flipping. I didn't think they would trade intra-conference, the Bengals, and the Cowboys did. So this is a perfect fit. I mean, this is the kind of player that puts them. I thought the Packers were winning that division regardless this year. I wasn't betting the Lions or the Vikings. So I had the Packers to win that division. And I think that this kind of only solidifies that. Their Super Bowl futures are going to drop like 12-1, 13-1. That'll be down 8-7-1 now with Micah, which is understandable. It's probably a little bit overvalued, but it's understandable. And so I think that this is the kind of guy that really could change things for them, and he'll be there for the next couple of years, keeping their Super Bowl window open a little bit longer. So Packers all of a sudden one of the toughest outs in all of the NFL.
How do you feel about the first round pick thing that I said there? I mean,
I mean,
are they overvalued and kind of, or
not if you hit on them,
true?
right? Like,
Yeah,
if you can, use them wisely. And the other thing too that makes it advantageous to have them is the draft capital to trade. If the Cowboys wanted to go now that they have $49 million in cap space or whatever the number is, they can trade for what they want. I mean, in theory, they could go out and trade for Trey Hendrickson if they wanted to right now and give him an extension. I mean, it kind of works. I know they play different positions, but you get my point. Like they could offer up a first round pick and go, see ya.
right.
So that's the other reason to have it is that it's a commodity that bad teams who have good players would want because they desperately need younger talent in order to advance their position. So I think that, it's not bad to have extra first round picks. It never is. And if there's a guy you really want at the top of the draft, you can package a couple of those and move up, and you're not really giving away anything because there was somebody else's pick. So
Right.
it just gives you a little more flexibility. I get your point, and I'm not, like underscoring it as a point. It's tough sometimes to connect on first round picks. Some organizations do it better than others, but
Of course.
the point simply is just that it gives you room to maneuver, and I think that really is kind of what's the most important part.
Well, I was gonna put this future in, but now I'm not. I was kind of high on Dallas over their win total just because I don't think they were as bad of a team last year as
No,
people thought if you look at their record. But now I'm not so sure.
I mean, Dak was gone for 9 games, so it's hard to say that they were or they weren't, going to be good or bad last year. When you lose your starting quarterback, guess what? You're going to have a bad year. I mean, nobody values the backup quarterback less than me. Everybody seems to worry about who the backup. I don't care who the backup is. If my starter is out for an extended period of time, guess what? My season is over.
Right.
And
Agreed.
that's just the reality of it. I don't live in this world where I care who my backup is. I would invest $5 million on the cheapest backup I could find who could fit my system. And if he's got to play more than 2 games, we have a serious problem.
Right.
Right. Like my quarterback has got a sustainable injury for an extended period of time that, makes it a problem. So I just don't, I don't worry about that stuff. I think that when it comes down to it, this is a situation where, um, I think that the Cowboys are still going to be competitive because they have Dak Prescott. That's ultimately what it boils down to for me.
Right. So I get what are some big storylines or just a couple of storylines that you're very intrigued on to, over this NFL season? I mean, maybe one or two that, really piqued your interest.
I mean, everybody points to the Chiefs, and if they're going to take a step back and regress, yes, theoretically, I think they will. They're certainly not going to be 12-0 in one-score games again this year. That's not going to happen. So doesn't mean they're not going to win the AFC West. Chargers got to figure out a way to beat them. That hasn't happened. Justin Herbert's 2-7 against the Chiefs lifetime. So,
Right.
Patrick Mahomes has been there for the entirety of his career, and he hasn't really done well against them. I think the Raiders are interesting. I think that they could really surprise people and change the trajectory of that division by stealing a couple of wins that nobody had on their schedule. Like, oh, we'll beat the Raiders. Check. We'll beat the Raiders. Yeah, no, I don't know that to be the case. I am very high on the Steelers. I may be on an island. I've been saying it for months. And I got really high on them after they traded for Jonnu Smith in the Minka Fitzpatrick trade and got Jalen Ramsey back. Why? Because I know Arthur Smith. I know the offensive coordinator, and he now has Pat Fryermuth and Jonnu Smith. Nobody runs more 21 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back than Arthur Smith. It sets up everything he does, the run game, the play action. Aaron Rodgers is still one of the best play action quarterbacks in all the NFL. So I think they're going to surprise people. I think they're going to put up points. One of my best futures is Aaron Rodgers over 3,200 and a half passing yards. That's 189 yards a game, Marco. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to sit here and tell me Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing for 189 yards a game, it's because he's not playing. That's,
Right.
that's all you're betting on and taking the under is that he doesn't play all 17 games.
Right.
If he plays and is healthy, which he's another year removed from the Achilles injury, which is better for him, then guess what? You know, he'll get over this number by week 13, 14. Like that's such a realistic possibility. Because Arthur Smith is not totally going to abandon the pass game. I mean, look at the years that Ryan Tannehill had. Like theoretically, this is the best quarterback Arthur Smith has ever had in his coaching career. Like,
Right.
just go down the list. I mean, that's what it is. Last year, Rodgers threw for almost 3,900 yards in a derelict, defunct Jets organization who fired their coach and their GM midseason, and he still was able to put up numbers. Aaron Rodgers didn't play bad last year. I don't know why people think all of a sudden his play is terrible, because fantasy nerds look at his production and go, oh, well, he's not, throwing a 35 touchdowns. So, okay, he's not throwing 35 touchdowns. Doesn't mean he's not being productive, and it doesn't mean that he's not going to be an effective part of this offense. I took a flyer on the Steelers to win the AFC North. Plus 550. The Ravens regress. I think the Steelers are the second best team in that division.
It's a little foreshadowing there too, because I do have the Ravens in a future that I want to talk about a little bit later, along with the Chiefs to win the division there. But I'm right there, kind of with you. I've always been don't sleep on the Steelers kind of thing, and I mean, there's something to be said. We joke about, oh, Mike Tomlin never has a losing season, but you get in the playoffs, and to your point, this is maybe the most stability they've had at quarterback. The weapons that they have. I mean, Johnny Smith as a receiver playing tight end. I mean, it's a mismatch whoever you go against, and I mean, the coordinator better than most casual fans out there. So if you say it's great for Arthur Smith, then who is anyone to really disagree there? So I don't mind that play, and I don't think this is a lollipop division here for the Ravens, much to the chagrin of everyone in Baltimore. And if you follow me on Twitter, you see that a lot of the Ravens Nation and flock calls me out for being a little bit of a realist here, but I guess what is your best week one play? I mean, betting week one in the NFL, I think, is the hardest thing to do because we know the teams that are supposed to be good. We know kind of the storylines that are coming in, and we saw early in the season how many double digit or 9+, 8.5, 9+ point favorites or underdogs won outright in the first 3 or 4 weeks last year. So, how do you play week one? And is there a game that you really, really like?
Giants plus 6.5. And I would split a unit between the Giants plus 6.5 and the Giants money line. Washington is overvalued. It's not that they're a bad team. They're just overvalued. I mean, this is a team. Last year, this would have been a 3.5, 4 point spread. Yeah, I mean, the Giants were bad last year, and they still wouldn't have been. I mean, the Eagles were 7.5 point favorites in New York against the Giants, and they won the damn Super Bowl. So, the idea that this is a team that all of a sudden, is going to just blow everybody away I don't think that's realistic. I think Commanders are a little bit overvalued. I think they're going to be so overhyped about that team in that stadium when they play in week one. Giants have a really good defense. It's going to be a defense that has top 10 potential. They have a great front seven. Abdul Carter is the real thing. They have pass rushers on both ends of the defensive line. They got guys up the middle with Dexter Williams. I mean, it's going to be a good defense. Their offense might not be that good, but I think they're competitive enough with Washington, and even more last year, to be able to do it. Remember, Washington won a whole bunch of one-score games. They won a Hail Mary game, and in reality, I keep telling people this, I'm not taking anything away from the Commanders, but they didn't exactly win that NFC divisional playoff. They were gifted it with 5 turnovers from the best team in the NFC.
Right.
They were gifted 5 turnovers from a 15-2 team. Like, that doesn't happen often in the playoffs. And still at that point, Detroit had put up like 35 points in that game. I know Washington's defense will be better because it's year 2 of Dan Quinn, and he tends to be able to make those guys better. But I look at this, and I think that the Giants have a shot to surprise some people. Everyone's going to start to overlook them, and they will They will absolutely, surprise some teams. So, um, yeah, I think in general, that's one of my better bets for week one. I'm going to take the Browns in week one as well too, plus the 5.5 at home. You got to love a home dog within the division. Don't lay points on the road within the division. Um,
especially going against Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati has had bad starts. They are 1-11 in the first 2 weeks under Zach Taylor, straight up. Um, Now they've played all their starters in the preseason for a good amount. That may change things, but um, this is a spot here where Cleveland you'll get their best effort in week one. As long as Flacco doesn't throw a pick six, I think they're going to be in the game. I like Atlanta as a home dog. I mean, they're screaming at you to take Tampa Bay, and Atlanta's had Tampa Bay's number. If it's one thing Atlanta can do, they can't beat the Saints, even no matter how bad they are, but they have done pretty well, have been pretty successful, particularly at home against Tampa Bay over the years. So I'm kind of surprised that number isn't closer to one. Um, but yeah, I think that's going to be a spot that I look at. And again, I would probably also take Tennessee plus the 7.5. It's too much for Denver to be laying.
Right.
What we've seen of Bo Nix in the offense, that's not like an offense that generates points at will. It's Sean Payton, and it's hard to bet against them, but I think it's too many points in week one to be laying for Bo Nix in that offense in a game where, I think Tennessee will try to do a lot to slow it down. They'll try to do a bunch to keep the pace slower and keep the ball out of the offense's hands. And I think you could see a lot of punting there. Arizona coming cross country for a game against New Orleans, laying 6.5. Like, this is the Arizona Cardinals. Who were they 6.5 points better than? Maybe they are 6.5 points better than the Saints, but we can't say that now. We might be able to
Right.
say week 7 or week 8, but as of right now, they're not 6.5 points better than it's Spencer Rattler, which I hate. I wish they would have went with Tyler Shook, which is why I'll probably stay off the game. I got a rookie head coach and a bad quarterback, so but Arizona laying 6.5 is not something that I would ever do in this spot. So, yeah, those are kind of the games that I have my eye on for week one.
Yeah, and you spoke exactly to kind of some of the point where I was getting at with week one, where it's like you look at the very sexy teams and the trendy teams, everyone's going to be all over Washington. Denver was everyone's sweetheart. And you look at how bad the Saints were, and common knowledge says these are going to be publicly bet teams. Oh, how could they lose this game? And I think you're spot on with the Giants there. It just stinks that their schedule is on paper so tough. Obviously, I don't do this, hey, schedule's tough because they could end up playing a bunch of backup quarterbacks, right? You never know. But I do think they're a team that will give a lot more teams problems, and I think Washington's over under is more juiced to the under 9.5. I think being the minus, where the over is plus, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you saw that total anywhere out there, but I think it was 9.5, and more people are on the under in that. So, um, very very spot on with Washington then. And I'm in the pick six league where you have to go 6-0 every week. You pick the entire slate. You pick 6 games from the entire slate. So I'll definitely have a couple of these in there. But yeah, going 6-0 is tough
Oh,
every week in
very
the
hard.
NFL for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where, um, you know, I don't think we'll get the variance this year that we got at the beginning of last year. If you followed Survivor contest and the Super contest out in Vegas for Circa, how 95% of the pool was eliminated by week 3, I don't think we see that level of um, variance come again this year. We might see a little bit more chalk at the beginning. So just something to think about.
Is there a certain formula or I guess trend, or how do you bet week one? Like, what is your thing? Did you take anything away from the preseason, or is
No,
it just kind of
but just home dogs is generally where you go. I mean,
okay?
teams going out on the road in week one for home dogs when everybody believes they have a shot and every team believes that they're still Super Bowl contenders and every team that believes that they're good. If you can find home dogs, take them. I mean, that's what Atlanta is. That's what Cleveland is. Um, and look to them. I mean, if you're going to lay more than a field goal in week one, good luck. There's a lot we don't know. Remember, September is fool's gold in the NFL.
Right,
No team is really what they are in the month of September. They
right.
they, they look like they are, they feel like they are, but there's not. There's a lot there.
Yeah. Well, we'll go over a couple of props. I know you had gave a couple of years, so some future bets. I'll give you a couple. You let me know if I'm an idiot or if you know there's any merit to these, or kind of your play on that. So to touch base on your Packers thing, I do like the Vikings at plus 110 to make the playoffs. I just think unless JJ McCarthy comes out and is absolutely dog shit. That team has enough on paper. And again, I'm not high on the Lions either. And I'm not high on Ben Johnson in year one because Caleb seems to be seeing ghosts a little bit in practice there. But, you know, who, even if the Packers win that division, which teams are going to be better than the Vikings, given the question mark? So plus 110, getting plus money on there just for them to make the playoffs. I kind of like that. What are your thoughts?
I don't hate it because the NFC is sort of weak after you get past the Eagles and now the Packers and from my view, the 49ers. Like
Oh, I think you froze. Oh, I think we're frozen. Hold on.
and they have the Monday night matchup against Chicago. That'll be interesting in week one. If they lose that one, it's kind of like, eesh, but then they play, which is crazy. I know a couple of them are overseas, but they don't play another true road game again until they have to travel to Los Angeles against the Chargers, which circle that on your calendar. When they haven't played a true road game from September 8th to October 23rd, circle that on your calendar. I hope the Vikings actually are pretty good up to that point, and they're a 500 team, and the Chargers are laying less than a field goal because that's a hammer spot for a team going all the way out west for a prime game for their first true road game. Yeah, circle that on your calendar.
Now, just a couple ones that you touched on earlier. So the Bucks to win the division is minus 105, to make the playoffs is minus 160. But your boys, the Atlanta Falcons, coming in at plus 142 to win the division. I mean, thoughts on that? I mean, Michael Penix in there, and Atlanta might have the best overall roster on there. Just what are your thoughts on that division? Can they get two playoff teams, or is it whoever wins it is in, and who wins it?
I took Atlanta plus 155 to make the playoffs. I don't think that number's around anymore, but I took them plus 155 to make the playoffs. And I think that's the smarter, wiser bet because there is a lot more there's a lot more chance that happens, that they make the playoffs as a wild card again in a weaker NFC than them winning the division. I think. I look, Tampa Bay's won the division 4 years straight, from last year Tom Brady to the last 3 years in a row. Go figure out how. I'm not really sure, but the point simply is just that for Atlanta, I think you're right. The roster is there, and I think Penix is actually going to be pretty good. I don't trust this coaching staff. I have no reason to. I've got enough
Right.
data points at this point that they are more of the problem than they are the solution. I don't think Zach Robinson is all that great of a play caller. Maybe it changes this year, but at least the sample size of what I saw, last 2 years doesn't inspire me to believe that this all of a sudden will be a high level offense. There's some holes there. And the same thing on the defensive side. Jeff Ulbrich, who was the defensive coordinator under Dan Quinn, they weren't that great then towards the end of his tenure. You brought him back to do what? I don't know that there's any level of improvement there. So tons of questions about the coaching staff there. And I think that's ultimately going to hold them back. That's why I took them just to make the playoffs in case the NFC is weak and they can get to 9 wins. Then I think they got a shot. For a team that's won 7 wins, has had 7 wins for 4 years straight, for them to get 2 more would be a huge lift. If they get to 10 wins, I think they get in. If that wins them the division, great. They're getting in then regardless. So, I didn't need the extra money to win the division when just making the playoffs, it hits both of them.
Of course, yeah. And people forget they were 5-2 with the win in Philadelphia before Cousins kind of
They were
turned into a pumpkin there.
6-3 with a game against the Saints in New Orleans that would have locked up all but locked up the division at that point, because they would have been 4-0 in the division and 7-3 and had a 3-game lead on everybody in the division, and they handed it right back to them because of the coach
Right.
and the idiot kicker who missed 3 field goals.
Yeah. So, and then a couple other ones that you mentioned. So, two of the big favorites in the NFC or the AFC, sorry, the Chiefs to win the division at minus 110. And until someone beats them, I got to weigh that right at that lower price. And then I put this one on there today. I wasn't kind of convinced on it, but the more I think about it, Ravens under 11.5 wins. I mean, to go 12-5. I mean, we saw when they had the best roster in the NFL last year, they went 12-5 and they were fully healthy. I mean, there's going to be some injuries that are going to hit this team. And Derrick Henry's not rushing for 1,900 yards as a 39 or however old he is running back, despite being a beast. So I like those two thoughts on both of those.
Well, I mean, the Ravens are interesting just because they, everything about them tells you that they should get over this number. Like for them to win 13 games shouldn't surprise anybody.
Right.
Um, you know, the one stretch you kind of have to worry about. One, they have an early bye. They have a stretch of 3 straight road games at Miami, at Minnesota, and at Cleveland. Now, on paper, that sort of looks a little bit easy, but the third of those 3 straight road games is in Cleveland against a division opponent. That could change things. I mean, think about it. They play Buffalo, Detroit, and Kansas City in the first 4 weeks. I mean, that kind of decides whether they're going to get over that number or not. If they're 2-2 there, they have a shot to get over that number. If they're 1-3, it's a long way to go. I mean, you've got 13 games left and you only have one win, and you kind of got to win, all of them.
Right.
So they got to come out of there 2-2 at worst. And that's why I wouldn't bet the over, because I don't know what they're going to be after 3 weeks. They have trouble in Buffalo. They usually never win up there. And the same thing with Kansas City. So they're going to have to beat Detroit on Monday night. And, Cleveland is a division opponent is always tough. And oh, by the way, they still get Cincinnati twice later on in the year. They have a
Right.
Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati stretch that also is kind of yuck. 3 straight division games. It doesn't do them any favors. And
Yeah.
by the way, that Steelers game in Pittsburgh the last week of the season, if it doesn't matter for them and they're on 12 wins and they've locked up the division, they dump that game and rest everybody. Harbaugh's told you that a million times over. So I wouldn't bet the over. I'd only bet the under, but I'm not going to be surprised if they hit the over.
Yeah, and to your point a little bit with Washington, I mean, they were a bad Joe Burrow interception away from and a missed field goal from Cincinnati from losing in Cincinnati, and then a controversial 2-point call by the Bengals who went to win it. And those two games go the other way, and this team's not in the play. They're nowhere near where they were, And to your point, I mean, the Ravens have lost at Cleveland. They lost at home to, Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. They've lost to the Steelers the last couple of years. So to just think that you're going to go undefeated in the division, your margin for error is very, very low if you come out, like you said, 2-2 in those other divisions. So, yeah, I don't love it, but I would lean towards the under, and it'll be interesting to see kind of, how the Ravens are, because I think the window is this year, and then you're going to start paying Lamar. His salary cap number is going to hit, and they did lock up Kyle Hamilton, but how much more are you going to get out Derrick Henry with treads on the tires, and how many times is your quarterback going to go for 41-4, and you're going to be fully healthy. So last year or this year, I mean, it's kind of their year to win it. And if they don't this year, then they'll have to do some reevaluating there. But also just had a couple player props. Just wanted to get your thoughts on these, and a couple of these I'm doing for value here. But two props I really like, and then I'll get into leading the NFL in receiving here, and you let me know your thoughts. But two wide receiver props that stood out to me were both Jackson Smith and Jigba over 97.5 receiving yards, and George Pickens over 900.5 receiving yards, both at -114 on FanDuel. I think they seem too easy. Is that a problem that they seem too easy? I mean, is there any way those don't hit?
And over what?
He is over 975.5, so 976 essentially.
Here's the thing with Seattle. They're not going to throw a lot. Mike McDonald is going to run the hell out of the ball. They're going to run. They're going to be the most boring offense in the league, and I would play a lot of unders with Seattle because I don't think that they are going to be throw happy at all. I would tell you that I think that him being the number one prime target, you know, is true. I think that he absolutely will be the number one target, but I also think that this is not a team that's going to throw a bunch. So it's tough. I could see the overcoming it. Like if he doesn't get 1,000 yards, who on that offense is catching the ball?
Right.
Right. Like that's kind of what it boils down to when you look at Seattle. Like who is going to be the guy that's going to catch all the balls that Sam Darnold is throwing? I mean, Cooper Kupp may surprise people. He's been very quiet, and essentially they kind of have two slot receivers. But yeah, I don't know. It really is how much Sam Darnold has a connection with Cooper Kupp. I mean, I probably would lean Cooper Cup to go over more than I would JSN, but it feels like a little bit like a coin flip. But I know they're going to run the heck out of the ball in that offense.
Yeah, I look a lot with like 1,000 yard season as what, like 58.5 yards. Um, if you play all 17 games, and for a number one receiver, even if the worst quarterback in the NFL doesn't throw for less than 3,000 yards, really, So I mean, to your point, even if Cup has 1,000 yards, who else is catching it there? It just seemed like a little bit low of a number to me, but I absolutely love the Pickens over 900.5 yards. I mean, Dallas is going to probably be throwing the ball a lot more now with Dak being back, and I mean, you know, CD Lamb on the other side, I think Pickens short of him taking himself out of a couple games and being a cancer. I mean, that number is very, very low again to me. So thoughts on George Pickens over 900.900.5 yards.
I mean, what do we do in Dallas now? Like, I don't know. There's one school of thought that now without Micah, that the offense will have to do more, right? Because the defense isn't going to be good, so they may be throwing the ball a heck of a lot more, right? Like I think that's a realistic possibility for them, but I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But CD Lamb obviously is going to get the lion's share of the targets there. Do you really believe that there's going to be 2,000-yard receivers in that offense? No Rico Dowdle, right? He's gone.
Right.
I don't know. The Cowboys are a very tough figure. For anybody who bet their futures and now has to deal with this already, it's you're holding tickets that just don't feel good at this point. Not saying they can't happen; they just don't feel good.
And I'll preface this one with the last 2 years I've put futures on players to leave the NFL and receiving, and I hit the last 2 years. So these are a couple players I like outside of just your normal top two guys. But I could sprinkle a little bit on Nico Collins at plus 1,000, Brian Thomas Jr. plus 1,400, or Drake London at plus 1,300 to lead the NFL in receiving. Any thoughts on those guys? Do you like any of those three?
Again, I don't trust the Falcons coaching staff enough. This I know Michael Penix take a lot of shots down the field with him. And Drake London feels like the guy that is going to be the benefactor of all that. But I don't know. It's not a bad bet, but I have questions. I told you about the Falcons coaching staff. Who are the other guys?
Nico Collins at plus 1,000 and Brian Thomas Jr. at plus 1,400.
Well, you wouldn't get any of my money for the Jaguars. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is good. I've said that for years, so I wouldn't look in that direction. Especially now that they're going to have Travis Hunter there. Is he going to poach some of his yards and catches that he would have had last year? Nico Collins seems like a viable option. If he's healthy the whole year and CJ Stroud is healthy the whole year, that one seems like it could, more than anything, be the one that I would lean on the most.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Brian Thomas, I just thought had like really, really bad quarterback play and still finished third in the league in receiving. Granted, it was a distant third, from the first place in there. But I'm with you on Trevor Lawrence. I thought maybe Liam Cohen might come in and do it. I'm kind of looking for value in these. Obviously, you got to sprinkle a little bit on Jefferson and Chase and things like that. They're still plus money, but to find that big score that can make you some money. I mean, Nico Collins at plus 1,000, like you said, if the guy's healthy, that could definitely be a good one. So we'll wrap it up here a little bit, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on division winners, wild card teams, and who is going to be in your Super Bowl. I mean, I think we could safely assume Buffalo and Philly are both winning the East for you, right? In the AFC and the NFC.
I mean, no NFC team has won back-to-back division titles since 2004, so make that what you will. I don't know if that's something that you're a believer in or not, but now with that Dallas seems to be a little bit of a weaker team, it's probably more viable. I would tend to agree.
Yeah, and Buffalo. I mean, there's no way with the Jets, Miami, or even if New England's up and coming, that Buffalo loses that division short of a Josh Allen injury. Correct?
Don't ever say those words. I don't think so. Buffalo should be in full control in the AFC East.
Okay. Now, what about the NFC West? I saw they were all plus money, and the Matthew Stafford seems like he might be back for Week 1, but I do think that that's going to be an injury that could linger, especially at his age. I wasn't as high on San Francisco, but I've seen a lot of people taking San Francisco over the win total to make the playoffs. Are like minus 190, almost minus 200 there. I've always been a Rams guy. I would like to sprinkle in them, but the Stafford injury is a little too concerning for me. I mean, is that San Francisco or nothing for you, or is there a team
Yes.
that you think could win? Okay.
I think so. I don't trust Matt Stafford. I don't trust the Rams. I don't trust anything about them. I would tell you that I think that San Francisco's still being undervalued. Injuries killed that team last year. They're not that bad. If Brock Purdy plays well, and there's no reason he shouldn't, even without Debo Samuel, I think that they are a very tough team to beat.
And so you have possibly Atlanta coming out of the South, and then you have Green Bay winning the North. Who would your wild card teams be in the NFC?
Detroit, um, probably at this point, Minnesota. Um, I could see a second. I could see Tampa and Atlanta both getting in. One division, one wild card. Um, and again, can Seattle do it? I think so. I think that they possibly could be there. How much of a step back will the Cowboys take? I don't know the answer to that, but right now I wouldn't put them as a losing Micah. I don't know if I put them as a playoff team. So I would probably go with Detroit, Minnesota, and look, if Stafford's healthy, the Rams will get in. I'll say that much. If Stafford's healthy, the Rams will get in, but I would probably say Detroit, Minnesota, and Seattle.
Okay, awesome. And then in the AFC, I know we talked a little bit about, kind of you having a little bit of a surprise there with the Steelers, a future that you have there. So we have Buffalo. I still think we both think Kansas City is coming out of the West there.
Yeah,
The NFC
until we see otherwise, I guess we can't bet against them.
and the AFC South, I mean, is Houston's to lose? Can the Jags or the Colts come up and, surprise at all?
Not the Jags. I think the Colts have a better roster across the board. It's a really good roster. It really is. I don't know how much I believe in Shane Steichen, and I know what Daniel Jones is, and it's not all that great, but there's a world where they can win 9 or 10 games and get in.
Yeah, I saw their total at 7.5 on FanDuel, and I put a future a couple months ago on them to make the playoffs, thinking that Daniel Jones was going to be the starter. So I'm glad that you kind of backed me up a little bit on that one. And then the who else are we missing? So we have the AFC North. Okay, and then who would your wild card teams be? And then what is the Super Bowl that you have? And who wins the Super Bowl?
My wild card teams would be Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, and let's call it the Colts.
Okay, and then who comes out of the AFC?
I'm going to bet on Buffalo again.
Okay, against who in the Super Bowl?
Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, that's going to make a lot of people here in the 410 very very upset there, as Buffalo is now public enemy number one, and it's going to be a great game week one. Ravens at Bills, but 1 week from the season, got one of the best in business, Mark Zinno. Zinno, let people know where they can find you. I know you're all over the place, but just let them know where they can find you.
Yep, on X at Mark Zinno, Twitter, whatever we're calling it. Instagram is the same. Post a lot of content there for my picks and everything else, and then Sports Grid and ESPN Radio.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, at least one person in Maryland misses you, so you're always welcome back here. Buy you a beer if you're ever in Baltimore, and hopefully you do get some joy in Atlanta sports, and the Falcons can actually.
We'll be back for Army Navy game in Baltimore this year. So
there you go. Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, man, really appreciate the time, and like I said, one of the best in the business, man, and happy football season is upon us, and let's make some money.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you.
Take care. See ya.